In today's video, we continue on with our NHL GM report card series. We're going to look at one of the teams that have done the most work this offseason, the San Jose Sharks. They seem to be in on everything, especially if it's connected to a young player. This team has been under the microscope on how bad they've been, but it's going to get real good here in a few years. We'll discuss all the moves and grade the work of Mike Grier coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we continue on with our GM report card series. We grade Mike Grier's work today with the San Jose Sharks, and he's going to get a pretty good grade. I'll give you a heads up on that. And he's been very, very, very busy. This team has gone through a lot of change this offseason, some of which won't really, get the full effect of for a few years, but they have done a lot of good work to get this rebuild really in the right direction. And not only we're going to start to see some of that, the fruits of that labor as early as this fall. But we're going to look at what they've done for trades, signings. Of course, they were busy with the waiver wire as well in the draft, and we'll see what everything that's been done and how we're going to grade Mike Grier. So first up, one of the early moves we saw was a kind of a backdoor deal, if you will. I think he had a side agreement with Chris Drury, the New York Rangers, that they got Barkley Goodrow off waivers. Goodrow's contract may not be the most favorable, but he is a good veteran, plays hard, can be a good bottom six guy, has good pedigree, Stanley Cup to his name. There's lots to like about Goodrow's game. Unfortunately, he doesn't give you much offense, and the last couple of years has kind of been a bit of a struggle. He was overpaid with the Rangers as well. That didn't help. And he goes to San Jose via waivers. I know he wasn't crazy about the idea, but at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot of good players there that he's going to be able to help out. He'd be a good leader in that sense. So they got Barkley Goodrow for nothing. Yes, the contract's not the greatest, but they didn't give up any assets to do it. They had the space to do it, and with all the young players coming into the organization, I think he can be somebody that does help them and be a good example and can teach them about what it takes to win when it comes to playoffs and all that stuff. And be a while before they see playoffs, but he can use that experience to really help this young group. As far as other trades go, because they were very busy early in the offseason, they picked up Ty Dellandrea from the Dallas Stars for a 4th-round pick. They found out Dellandrea was available, former first-rounder. They get him for next to nothing. Jake Wallman from Detroit for future considerations. I'm not sure what Yzerman was doing there. Wallman's not that bad of a defenseman. They have a few defensemen that I would say were definitely worse off than Wallman. Why he went for nothing, I'll never understand. But at the same time, the only thing that made sense was that they were clearing space to try to get Trouba from the Rangers, which never ended up happening. But they get Wallman from Detroit, so that's pretty good. He gave up nothing. They gave up Kyle Burroughs to L.A. for Carl Grundstrom. Pretty good bottom six guy in L.A., but L.A. wanted to move on. So they get him his signing rights. They've later come to terms on a new contract. They pick up Cody Ceci in a 3rd-round pick from Edmonton for Ty Emberson. Emberson could have been a defenseman that they built with there. I think he could have stayed and, kind of crafted his game and increased his role over time. But I can see that they've got enough, prospects coming up behind him that they felt he was expendable, and they were able to grab Cody Ceci, who's a veteran, can make them a little better in the short term, be a good, like I said, a good guy to have around for the young guys, and they get an extra 3rd-round pick. So again, good piece of business there overall. And then they got Yaroslav Askarov, who could be their goalie of the future from the Nashville Predators. They gave up the compensation they got from Vegas for Tomas Hertl, so the conditional 2025 1st-round pick from Vegas, and they give up former first-rounder Edstrom and then Magnus Krona. So they give up a goalie prospect, a forward prospect who's now been traded twice, and a first-rounder. So I think Nashville did pretty well here with this package. So they took the 2 main pieces, what they got from Hertl, turned it into Askarov. If he turns out to be their goalie of the future, that's a phenomenal trade. The fact that they've been aggressive to go after some of these young guys, like I said, I have to give Grier top marks. There's really not a lot of risk here for them in the Askarov trade. I do like Krona as a goalie, but I do think the upside of Askarov is much higher. Edstrom could be a decent player. I don't know if he's going to be as good as a lot of their other prospects, though. And the first round pick from Vegas is going to be a very late pick. It's not going to have as much value as like a top 10, top 15, where it's most likely going to be, 20, 25 or 25 to 30 range. So at the end of the day, yes, there's a little bit of risk with this trade for them, but I really do like it. I think it's worth it. They took a swing, and to be honest, I don't know that they're going to give up anything that's, earth-shattering or like franchise-altering to get them. So I really like this. So for the trades, like I said, I can give Greer good marks on all of these trades. Dellandrea for a fourth, Wallman for nothing. They got Barkley, Goodrow for nothing. I like the package they gave up for Askarov. They get CC in the third for Emberson, Grundstrom for Burrows. Like, there's really, you got to like that. And then at the same time, at the draft, they moved up to get another high pick. They packaged some picks. They packaged pick 14 and 42 to Buffalo to get up to 11. And they were able to grab not only Macklin Celebrini first overall, but then they grabbed Sam Dickinson, who was still on the board at 11. And then they get Chernyshov later with their next pick to start the next round. So that is the first three picks. They get Celebrini, Dickinson, and Chernyshov. You've already got a bunch of other top young guys. They already got Will Smith, who came over. He got his contract. I mean, they did so well. With the young talent at this draft. And then, like I said, with the few good prospects that they already had in there, they still got William Eklund, and then all this other stuff they've done. Now they have one of the top young talent pools in the league. So overall, I give them top marks there. Of course, after doing all that, they had some signing business to look after. They get Askarov signed to an extension, 2 years, $2 million. He still has a year on his rookie contract. So, I mean, he could be very cheap for a few years, which is great. And if he plays a lot, that's even better. They re-signed Thomas Bordelot, 1 year, $874,000. Henry Thrun gets a 2-year deal at $1 million a year. Ty Dellandrea gets re-signed after the acquisition in 2 years at $1.3. Carl Grundstrom gets a new deal after getting picked up at 2 years at $1.8. Luke Kunin comes back for 1 more year at $275,000. So that's your internal business. Plus, on top of that, they got entry-level deals signed for Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, Sam Dickinson, Chernyshov, and Luca Cagnoni as well. So, they were busy, and they got a lot of their top young talent all locked up. And like I said, they got these other guys like Bordelot still in the prospect mix, if you will, and Thrun and Dellandrea, and then, of course, they extend Askarov after they picked him up. And then externally, they bring in a few more veterans to kind of help these guys out, adding Alex Wenberg, 2 years at $5 million. Tyler Toffoli comes over. That was a surprise move. He just wanted a place to get the most money and some term and some stability after bouncing around so much. 4 years at $6 million. For a team that can afford that, I don't mind it. Lucas Carlson, 2 years, $800,000. So that's adds to their blue line depth. So looking at the addition subtraction, it's a long list. So coming in, they added Tyler Toffoli, Yaroslav Askarov, Ty Dellandrea, Carl Grundstrom, Alex Wenberg, Jake Wallman, Cody Ceci, Lucas Carlson, and Barkley Goodrow. That's a lot of players coming in. Going out, it's even longer. They did not bring back Mike Hoffman, Philip Zadina. Emberson, of course, was traded. Kyle Burrows was traded. Barabanov does not come back. Kalen Addison does not come back. Kevin LeBanc not retained. Magnus Krona and Edstrom were traded. Devin Cooley not brought back. Jack Studnicka not brought back. So that's a lot of change. Is the team going to be better? You're darn right it is. They're going to be fun and exciting. They're going to go from historically bad to fun and exciting. Now, they may not move up in the standings a whole lot. I still think they'll pick reasonably high, probably top 5 or 6 again next year. But you're looking at their top 6. Now you got guys like Celebrini, Toffoli, Fabian Zetterlund still there, William Eklund, Will Smith. Granlund's a good veteran, is still there, but he probably won't be there after this year. You got Wenberg, Kunin, Bordelot, Goodrow, Sturm, Dellandrea. Your bottom 6, not the most desirable, but you got a lot of young, exciting talent. You're going to sell tickets to see Celebrini, Smith, Eklund. Like I said, you surround it with some good veterans like Toffoli and Wenberg. They bring in Dellandrea, Goodrow. Really, and then their back end's going to be a lot better. They ended up keeping Muriel Ferraro. Like I said, they bring in Cody Ceci. Obviously, Jake Wallman's there as well. So, like, the blue line's definitely going to be improved. The forward group's definitely going to be improved. Goaltending should be at least the same or better. Like, they had a heck of an offseason. They really did. They got the goalie of the future. And then between the draft, they get a potential top pair defenseman. And Dickinson, or at least solid top 4 for sure, maybe top pair. They got Celebrini and Smith now that are solid top 6 guys. Ideally, both have potential to be top line players. And on top of that, they got the goalie of the future. At least they hope so. So, I mean, I'm going to give Mike Grier an A. And I have not given out an A to anybody yet. And I'm over half the league now done in this series. I've given out a bunch of B pluses, some Bs, B minuses, some Cs and Ds, but I think the Sharks might have had the best offseason. I'm not sure another team did better. Now, we're not done analyzing all this yet, so maybe I'll determine another team in the West did just as good, but I don't know that anybody's going to really be better. Like, the Sharks did a heck of a job. I really like a lot of this work that Mike Grier did. A lot of these guys that were not worth keeping around, like he kept baiting, like Hoffman, Zadina, moved on from the bank, like Barabanov. Like, these guys were all weighing things down last year. They're all gone. You get a fresh start. Obviously in goaltending, it's going to be hard to say what happens. They're going to have a competition between Blackwood and Vanacek and Askarov. I can see Askarov outplaying at least one of those guys and getting a good look at NHL games this year. You get lots of exciting young talent coming in, and they got a bunch of guys on shorter-term deals trying to revive their career, like Dellandrea and Grundstrom. And, if they don't work out for you long-term, you paid next to nothing to get them. So it's worth the risk. And over time, you're probably going to have your own internal prospects that you've drafted and developed kind of take those roles. So there's still going to be a team that drafts and develops and pays a lot of attention to that and probably lower in the standings for a year or two. But, by the time we get like 3 to 4 years from now, like this team is really going to be chugging along and really be set well off. I think they've done tremendous work. So let me know what you think of the Sharks offseason down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. Lots more teams to come in this series. Plus, of course, lots of daily news and rumors from around the NHL as well, with several videos per day. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.